As terrible as the situation is, there is opportunity within the situation. These guys are going to have a bigger offseason than they've ever had. They've never had an opportunity like this to really slow down and take a long, hard look at how they play, how they move, and what the things they really need to improve on are. I'm Brandon Payne. I'm the founder and owner of Accelerate Basketball in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I am Stephen Curry's personal trainer, personal skills coach, and performance coach. I've been training Stephen now for 10 years, and each year it's just gotten bigger and bigger. As of today, April 10th, the league is still non-committal on whether it's going to come back this year or just close up operations and move on to next year. For us at the NBA level, especially for players like Stephen that have played deep into the playoffs for so many consecutive years, we kind of have a rhythmic, defined work calendar that we operate from. Right now, not knowing whether we're preparing to play games in June and July or if we're preparing to play games starting in November and December, it kind of puts us in this position where, all right, we're not sure if we should be resting and getting into our normal off-season workout schedule after the rest period ends, because we typically would take off about 4 to 5 weeks after the playoffs have concluded to allow his body to rest, allow him to go on vacation and spend family time. Or are we trying to stay in shape, get him back on the court within the next 8 weeks? I'm treating it as it's the 4 to 6 week period that we would normally take off at the end of the season. My mental calendar has kind of flipped forward to thinking, November and December is when we're going to start playing basketball again. I'm starting to build out what would be our normal off-season program, thinking that it would start probably sometime in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Right now, I would say we're about 3 weeks away from really kind of getting going to where I'm going to want to be involved daily in what he's doing. He's a very responsible player, so he has a really nice setup at his house to where he's able to get a lot of cardio and strength in. So I know he's doing some things on his own, but in about 3 weeks, we'll definitely have a defined direction that we're going to go in for this offseason that he'll need to get started on. In a normal off-season, we would be together pretty much 5-6 days a week, and we would have one completely off day. But right now, I'm preparing him to be able to do a lot of things at home on his own. I'm having a shooting machine sent to his house. He just got a basket up, so at least he'll be able to get up a few shots. I'm having our virtual reality, our neurotrainer unit sent there so he can do all of his mental skills training, all of his neurocognitive work. But he's very fortunate to have that type of space to do this type of work in. Even though he didn't play the full 82-game schedule because of the hand injury, he would still be taking about a 4 to 6 week period off and letting his body rest. And even though he wasn't playing in those games, he was going through 2-a-day workouts, he was going through hand rehab, he was still in the facility every day. So he needs a mental break just as much as he needs a physical break. So we would still take some time to let him kind of mentally recuperate and get away from it before we come back and really get started. During this 4 to 6 week period, this is typically the time that I would be using to really go back and watch film of this season, look at some of the ways that teams took things away from him, or look at some of the things that he did new that allowed him to have success, and kind of build that into a skill program. At the same time, I would be looking back at not only the big injuries like the hand, but there's also little micro injuries and things that happen throughout a basketball season, just bumps and bruises or something small that they were able to play through. You still have to build out that rehab process within your strength conditioning program to make sure those micro injuries don't repeat themselves the following years. This would be a period of time where I'm really reflecting on the season, talking to the team trainers, talking to Steph, and getting feedback to make sure we're putting together a comprehensive off-season program that pushes us forward from this season to next season. Once we get out of this 4 to 6 week period, that initial 10 days to 2 week period is going to be focused on making sure he has fluid movement skills, making sure that we don't have any lingering soft tissue issues from the season. A lot of foam rolling, mobility at his shoulders, mobility at his hips, stability at his knees, and mobility at his ankles. The way that I work with basketball players, the most important things we need to do from a movement standpoint is starting at your feet. Of course, we have to have some strength and stability at the ankle, but we really have to make sure we got the range of motion we need to allow our knees and our hips to do their jobs. If we have a joint dysfunction in one place within our leg, the issues are going to show up at another joint. So if we have a lack of range of motion at our ankles, we're going to start to have some discomfort in our knee. Or if we have something going on from a stiffness standpoint in our hips, typically we're going to have something going on our knees. So we have to make sure from a joint by joint standpoint that we are moving with fluidity and that our joints are allowing themselves to play their role. We build shooters from the ground up, making sure that from a soft tissue standpoint, we don't have any knots or anything. He gets really knotted up in his quadriceps from time to time. We're going to spend a lot of time working on that in that first 10-day period. So you see I've got it broken down: day 1, day 3, day 5, day 2, day 4, day 6. We're going to get into diaphragmatic activation first, and that's basically breathing drills. These are just different protocols in terms of how we have the arms lifted, where the knees are bent. So we're getting very detailed about how we're doing everything here because we've got to make sure that the diaphragm is the primary mover. Then we're going to get into our floss activation. Now, floss is something that we're using the rubber floss that you wrap the muscle to kind of trap the blood in place for about a 60 to 90 second period. We go through a few small movements, then we unwrap it, and then the new blood flushes out, the oxygenated blood flushes in. And you see we've got myofascial mobility ball uppers. He tends to get a little bit tight in his pecs and a little bit tight in his traps. And then we have a shoulder mobility series that we go through, and this is laying on a foam roller. This is all the different stuff that he goes through on that just to make sure his shoulders are moving with great fluidity and with great range of motion. If we feel like after the 7-day period that he's operating the way he needs to and that there's no issues, we may get into our strength and stuff a little bit earlier. But really, this period of time is designed to get him working on his balance, to get him working on joint by joint responsibility, and getting him to deal with uncommon loading. We use a product called Viper, which is, they look like logs. They're just designed for you to do flow movements with, so not movements that are designed to be point A to point B movements, just movements that are designed to load your body in an uncommon manner. It translates directly to the court because all of our change of direction, all of our step backs, and all of our quick stopping, that's all about dealing with your body moving in different ways. We can't script anything on the court. You can't script how the defender is playing. You can't script what happens in front of you. It's all reactionary. So when you're reactionary with change of directions, your body's going to have to load in a lot of different ways. By using these Vipers and using different ways to load them in different bands, we're allowing their bodies to remember and improve at changing directions and reactionary times. With Stephen, we've had such a long relationship, and he's such a professional, and he knows his body inside and out. We don't ever want to get into like an all-out stretch. We never want to stretch as far as we can and hold it for 30 seconds. We get into things like where we call it a 60% stretch, like if it's a hamstring stretch, but we're going to hold that slight stretch for a long period of time. The more difficult we get in the stretch, so if we get into like a 70 or 75% stretch, the less time we're going to hold that stretch. You think about it like it's one extended yoga session. We're progressively loading them, but we're not going to get into these really, really difficult positions in day 1. We're going to probably get some difficult stretches and difficult things probably by day 6 or 7. We don't really want them working much longer than 90 minutes. You're going to hit the point of diminishing returns where you're not getting the most out of every single rep. We have to extract the most improvement out of every single rep because our body can only go through so many. And that 90-minute marker is kind of your cut time. Week 3 of our normal off-season program, we would start introducing our basic movements, our basic lifts in the weight room, but it would be done in conjunction with the skill work that we were starting. With Stephen, we'll be able to do pretty much everything we normally do in the weight room, just I'll be on the computer, on the Zoom, whatever mode of communication we're using. So we would start to get on the floor for probably about 30 to 40 minutes in that 3rd week just to get shots up, to get a ball in our hands, just to start going back through a lot of our mechanics maintenance, which is just basically making sure that not only our movement mechanics are good in terms of moving beneath our hips, but also our shooting mechanics are solid. So hopefully that first 10-day period had provided us the fluid movement that we needed each joint to be able to shoot the ball smoothly. We would pair up what we were doing from a skill standpoint with what we do in the weight room. So if on day 1, if we were just primarily working on just jumping with shots and not moving side to side, not getting downhill, not escaping, but we're just jumping and shooting, then we would probably work on our landing mechanics in the weight room that day. We were doing vertical pressing, so like a squat or something along those lines where we had a big focus on landing mechanics. When we first get back on the court, it's going to be primarily really small mechanical stuff, a lot more ball handling, tennis ball, 2-ball stuff than we would have as the summer would go. So things like this right here, the like bounce catch, toss catch, or just toss and catch, Again, I mean, we're going to be talking about these same bullet points: posture, tempo, making sure we're breathing. So the breathing that we talked about, that diaphragmatic activation, that carries through in drills like this as well. So we want to take these drills, like these stationary tennis ball drills, and make them bigger in terms of their impact. So not only is there the ball handling element, there's the overload element of the tennis ball being there, there's the posture and strength element. This is an example of vertical core strength as well. But there's also the element of breathing. When we go through these drills, if he's very detailed about how he goes through it, he's going to get a greater amount of improvement because all the things we're hitting on our strength movements will come out in these drills as well. So we would treat this drill, this bounce catch, toss catch, like a base drill. And from the base drill, we can expand off of it. So it would go from a bounce catch, toss catch. Then we would go bounce catch, toss catch, cross the basketball over and catch it with the other hand. 3-4 weeks out of ball in your hands is a long time for a guy that, has played basketball his entire life. But he needs that. He needs that mental break. Got to have it in order to be able to refocus and prepare for the next season. So those are short bursts. So the tennis balls, that stuff is where he'll do 2 or 3 drills for 30 seconds each, and then we get away from it. So it's just a real quick 90-second hit it, and we'll put it down, and we'll probably go to something from a strength standpoint. So we'll use the tennis ball stuff to provide some rest in his strength workouts right now while we have the current setup, and then we'll use it to kind of break up his shooting as well. We'll never have somebody doing that for longer than about 90 seconds at a time. That's it. If you get to the point to where you're slowing down, or you get to the point to where you're getting sloppy, the benefit of the drill is lost. So you have to make sure you're short, quick, and sharp. If you think about things that are ground-based that could help with vertical core strength, we do a lot of planking. We don't do many extension-type core movements, so whereas general population would do a lot of things where they're either crunching or they're doing some sort of a static hold in that kind of crunch position, we're doing more contralateral stuff. We would have a cone in front of him, so he would have to reach his right hand out to tap the cone. While he's reaching his right hand out to tap the cone, his left foot has to come off the ground. And so we're getting glute activation on the left side, and we're getting some shoulder activation on the right side, but his core is having to lock everything down so he's not falling side to side. If I'm driving to the basket and I've got the basketball in my right hand and I'm receiving contact on my left shoulder, my right leg is going to be loaded more than my left leg because my right leg is the one that's got to provide the leverage for me to stay on the line that I'm driving. So you have to be able to be strong through your core while your legs are producing different amounts of force. And you have to be strong through your core while your arms are completing different tasks. Form for us is paramount. Like, we have to have perfect form. His breathing has to be superior while he's going through all this. So while you think about it, if you're planking and you got one leg up and one hand up and you're trying to hold your body still, the first thing your body does is forgets to breathe because you want to hold your breath to try to hold everything together. So we actually have somebody watching his breathing while he's doing all that. Typically, we monitor pretty closely heart rate. So that's our biggest kind of tell on, number one, how well conditioned we are, and number two, how hard we actually worked through that workout. There's several manufacturers that make different heart rate monitors, and there's one or two that have some pretty good apps. So he can actually screenshot his app to show me what we call the peaks and valleys look like and how close together they are, how far apart they are. Our biggest focus when we're looking at heart rate is how quickly the heart rate comes down. The shorter that period of time is, the better shape he's in. Week 4 is where the cardiovascular work will start to ramp up, and where that comes into play is in our skill work. So whereas in week 3, we're probably only spending about 30 to 45 minutes on the court, okay, now we're going to extend that out to about an hour. And instead of the entire period being spent on stationary catch and shoot stuff, for about 15 minutes of that period, we'll be actually moving. We're playing a lot of what we call shooting games, where he's got to make a certain amount of shots against a certain time limit, but we're giving him different spots he's got to go to. If we're doing that for about 15 minutes in week 4, week 5, we'll kind of ramp that up to about 30 minutes. So he'll be moving for about half the time we're on the floor. His cardiovascular challenges are getting greater as we get deeper into the summer, but his skill work is getting better because we're getting into more game-like skill work at that time. We try to challenge him as much as we can through the weeks till we kind of get to a peak. And we want to peak about 10 days prior to training camp, because what we want to do is we want to give him a few days to go on vacation with his family, which he typically does right before the season starts. Then we'll come back right before training camp with 2 or 3 really rigorous days. And then the 2 days, 3 days before training camp, we're simply just getting up shots, making sure we're sharp, and then he's off to them. Those rigorous days are what we call competition days. So everything we do within the workout, it's all competitive shooting. We're going to be changing areas, changing ends, giving him different defensive assignments. We do things that are called game simulations. We call it 4 quarters. He doesn't really like the drill, but it's where we're simulating things that he would have to do in a game on defense on one end, and then he has to change ends to the floor, and he has to make a few shots. Then he's got to go back and play defense again. So it's extremely challenging, extremely tiring, but it gives us a really good gauge on where he is. The heart rate data that we get from that is really important. We're really looking closely at how quickly that heart rate slope is coming back down. We also want to look at timeout. We simulate timeouts where he'll go for 4, 6, 8 possessions, and then we simulate taking a timeout where he actually goes and sits down. And we look at the heart rate. What does it look like when it's coming down? How quickly is it coming down? Because that's the information we need to know so we can, feel really good about where he is from a cardio standpoint. Very rarely do we shoot for just the sake of shooting. Even that on that 100 makes, we're tracking it. So we know how many it takes him to make 100 shots. We want to make sure if we're making 100 shots, we got to make it in less than 110 because we're shooting against air. Nobody's in front of us. Nobody's around us. The ball should go in. We have tracking data that shows us how far left the ball goes in the rim, how far right the ball goes in the rim. We want to make sure the ball is hitting the middle of the rim on every shot because in a game, he's never going to be standing still to catch and shoot. So if you would have shot that same shot off the move, it would have been a miss. If you're not looking at this information, it's kind of like flying blind. You're just kind of floating. You're just kind of working for the sake of working. We can't waste effort on the court. We have to make sure that everything we're doing on the court and in the weight room is taking us towards improvement to create the proper workout loading for him moving into the season. We're obviously in a tough situation as a country. We're in a tough situation globally. At some point, this is going to end. At some point, kids are going to be playing basketball again. I'm getting something called Basketball Parent put together where it's going to give parents an opportunity to speak with me on a monthly basis about putting their program together for their kids. And it's going to give parents an opportunity to spend more time with their kids and help parents understand how their kids learn. Right now, probably the biggest thing we have is we have a lot of kids playing Xbox. We have a lot of kids sitting on Zoom classrooms like this. And there's a lot of sitting going on. So their athletic skills will start to diminish if they're not using them. So to just get them out, have them moving, to keep it stimulating, to keep it interesting, you can't stop getting better. We have to get better, and we have to approach every day as an opportunity. Now we have technology that allows us to stay in touch with each other. So coaches are able to still have coaches meetings. Strength coaches are still able to stay in contact with players. Trainers like myself are still able to stay in contact with players. They can film themselves and send things back to us. From the time all these guys have been playing from 6, 7 years old, they've been playing basketball year round. They've never had an opportunity like this to really slow down and take a long, hard look at how they play, how they move, and what the things they really need to improve on are. All these guys now have an extended opportunity to really examine, what do I need to do better to help my team? And they can sit down and they can put together a really comprehensive player development program for themselves. Where in the past, it's just been, I got to work out to get ready for the next year. We have a little bit more time now, so we have to make the best of this bad situation, and we have to seize the opportunity in front of us, and we have to try to work to get better.